Hello, my name's Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for June 28th to July 4th of 2015. And on June 8th, we've got the sun. You can see it here denoted by the black circle with a dot in it. It's in Cancer. It's also in the 52nd hexagram. And on the outside of the wheel, we see the chop mark for the 57, numbered from bottom to top. The 57 goes yin, yin, yang, yin, yin, yang. And then the 57th hexagram is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And right here is the 52nd gate of inaction, keeping still, mountain, temporary and self-imposed inaction for the benefit of assessment, located in the root center. In a collective logic energy path in the understanding circuit called the channel of concentration. A design of determination that connects with its harmonic, the ninth gate of focus, the taming power of the small, potential that can be fulfilled through detailed attention to all pertinent aspects. And I've found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we have the following activated gates on June 28th. We've got the sun in the 52nd with the earth in the 58. The north node is in the 18th gate with the south node in the 17th gate. Mercury is in the 35th gate with Venus in the 4th gate, and Mars is in the 15th gate. Jupiter is also in the 4th gate with Venus. We've got Saturn retrograde in the 14th gate. Uranus is in the 51st gate. Neptune is retrograde in the 37th, and Pluto is retrograde in the 38th. So obviously not every every active gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your own human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. So the neutrino forecast is basically just a weather report, and no matter what the weather, an individual strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. As Ra Uru said, whatever the weather's going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And as we begin the week, we've got one channel activation due to the transit field with the Earth in the 58th gate and the North Node in the 18th gate. We have the channel of judgment, which is a design of insatiability that will be with us until July 1st, bringing the pressure to offer constructive criticism. This is a conditioning force that works best if it's invited, and its purpose is not personal but for the good of the collective. This can influence us to become perfectionists with an insatiability to make improvements. Unfortunately, most people will be unaware of this influence and how to best apply it in their lives. So we'll see a lot of folks meeting resistance as they try to change their family and friends with little success, which leads to a sense of dissatisfaction. After all, perfection does not exist, only ascending levels of mastery. And with a defined splenic center, this brings intuition and well-being, but Ra warned that non-splenic people may let go of something that is good for them during a transit defining the splenic center. And for folks without a defined root center, this definition can bring pressure. We're going to be looking at the sun's Ravi Ching line values daily, because 70% of the neutrinos we receive come from the sun. And as Ross said in Living with the Program, the lines of the day, when talking about these daily shifts of line values, he said we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. Of course, if your strategy and authority does not lead you in that direction, you can always notice how the program is affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. On June 28th, the day begins with the sun in the third line of the 52. The sun in the 52-3 is controls, external enforcement of inaction, exalted, the ability by its very nature to understand restraint with the potential in acceptance to use the period to refine strategies. the energy for acceptance in inaction. Detriment, a deep dissatisfaction with controls that disturb tranquility, leads to emotional withdrawal and affects vision. The pressure of restraint disturbs tranquility. In third line days, the line of the martyr, we're talking about a trial and error process, bonds made and broken, a system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. But later on the 28th, the sun then moves into the fourth line, the opportunist line of the 52. This happens at 12:53 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. If you're in a different time zone, you'll want to convert that to your local time zone. The sun in the 52-4 is self-discipline, exalted, perfected self-discipline and restraint that deals easily and wisely with impulsive temptations. The energy for restraint which recognizes the value of stillness and focus. Detrimented, though responsive to the need of principled control based on understanding of conditions, there is a tendency due to its natural expansiveness to doubt and restlessness. Restless energy and doubt in the face of restraint. And the fourth line days, we're moving out of the lower trigram, first, second, third lines, which are more introspective, to the fourth, fifth, sixth line, upper trigram, which is more outward looking in its perspective. So, this really brings a transpersonal energy to it, with the themes of friendship and companionship, networking. Fourth line days are great for social interaction. People are more open to networking and being friendly and social. On the 29th, the sun then moves out of the opportunist line into the heretic line, the fifth line of the 52, at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 52-5 is described as expansion. In times of inaction, explanation. Yeah. In times of inaction, the often important ability to explain one's position. Exalted, the often terse but exceedingly accurate statement, where inaction and focus can lead to detail. Detrimented, a convolution whose agnamic nature is normally misunderstood with unpredictable circumstances, where too much inaction can lead to loss of focus and not to detail. And in fifth line days, the heretic is about projection, positive projection followed by negative projection. Positive, they could do it. They're the perfect person for that, and then if the person doesn't fulfill that expectation, if they don't want to, they can't, they're unable to do it for whatever reason, the expectation is not met, that's when the projection turns negative. That's where the heretic is tied to the stake. This is important to understand, because when there's projection going on, it affects things. This is why the heretic has influence over those they don't know well, because then they're engaging in the positive projection. Once people get to know the heretic, then the projection often, that's when it changes. So fifth line days, again, they're heretical. It's a day of suspicion, a day of universalization, where something can leak out like a virus. Whether it's a YouTube video or a Facebook post that goes viral. We talk about there being paranoia associated with the fifth line day, as I've said before. With the projection field, if you're being projected onto, then they really are out to get you, and it's not paranoia. Anyway, and of course, this type of projection can impact the nature of relationships. Seduction is also a theme of a fifth line day. On the 30th, the sun then moves into the sixth line, so up into the role model line on the roof of the hexagram, 52 at 12:06 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 52-6 is peacefulness, exalted, a harmonic and balanced attunement that is at ease regardless of the situation, a lack of pressure in times of stillness, detriment and delusion as a substitute for genuine tranquility. Given the positive nature of this position, the delusion may be just as effective as the real thing, where pacification of the energy is extreme, pressure real, and imagined real or imagined does not disturb the stillness. Now, 6 line days on the roof of the hexagram and the role model line. I like to think about being on the roof of a building. Typically, when we're standing on a building, we're not looking at the building. We're looking at what else is happening in the neighborhood, what's going on in the environment, what's down the road, things like that nature. And Ra talked about on 6 line days not to get stuck with your head in the clouds, because you'll end up with something banging into your kneecaps or your shins. It's a day when there's a lack of focus on what's going on around us, because folks are looking beyond the immediate environment. Like 3rd line days, there can be certain dangers of not seeing a car coming, not seeing a bill coming, things of that nature. On the 30th, also on the 30th, Mercury moves from the 35th gate in the hexagram to the 45. And also Mars moves from the 15, and it joins the Sun in the 52. So let's start with Mercury. Mercury in mythology was the messenger of the gods. This is about communication, expansion of human consciousness through communication, not just as words, but also as music, according to Ra. And so what do you need to communicate in life? Well, we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality Mercury. And what might be communicated when Mercury is in the 45? I'd expect people to say, I have. And usually this is like, I have a resource that you can use as long as I'm appropriately compensated. Or it could be as long as I'm generously compensated in the channel of rulership. This is the gate of the gatherer, gathering together, the natural and genetically beneficial attraction of like forces. Mercury in the 1st line of the 45 is canvassing, exalted, the ability to promote and develop gathering together through education of the uncommitted. The material direction lies in education, detriment of the overzealousness that turns canvassing into proselytization and tends to alienate rather than gather support. The drive for material that leads to aggressive education. And then also on the 30th, Mars moving from the 15 to the 52, joining the Sun. Mars is in the gate of inaction, keeping still, mountain, the temporary and self-imposed inaction for the benefit of assessment. And Mars is detrimented in the 1st line of the 52, which is think before you speak. Detrimented. This is speaking first and living with the consequences afterwards. Energy that cannot be stilled. And Ross spoke about Mars being an extraordinary and immature energy resource that lacks refinement and is subject to outbursts. Mars represents the warrior archetype in mythology, and by following our strategy and authority, we slowly refine the energy of our design and personality Mars from immaturity to wisdom. And then on July 1st, the Sun moves from the 52nd hexagram, leaving Mars there into the 39, and the Earth moves from the 58 and joins Pluto in the 38. Let's get the Sun over here. So we then lose this channel definition with that transit. So we've got the Earth is in the 38th gate with Pluto in the gate of the fighter, opposition, the ability to persevere, the ability to preserve individual integrity through the opposition to detrimental forces. This shift happens at 11:42 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And we've got the sun in the 39th gate of the Provocateur, obstruction, the value of obstruction in provoking analysis, assessment, and reevaluation. The sun in the 39-1 is described as disengagement, exalted, the determination when confronted by obstacles to withdraw, but only temporarily, the energy to provoke by refusing to confront obstacles. Detrimented, disengagement with the accompanying indecision as to when to re-engage, the refusal to confront obstacles without the capacity to know when to engage. The indecision is also provocation. And so now we're in a new hexagram with the 39, and so we in the first line, we enter into the lower trigram. So again, first, second, third lines, lower trigram lines, this is where people are more looking inward, more absorbed in their own process. And the theme of the first line is a fear or an anxiety that needs to be investigated. So this is a day to study, not to act, a day to look into things, not to jump. It's a good day to deal with things you don't know, don't understand, or just can't make sense of. And then on July 2nd, the sun then moves into the second line of the 39 at 11:19 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 39-2 is described as confrontation, exalted, the instinctual and direct assault of obstacles, the energy to provoke through direct assault, detrimented, the principle of preservation that tempts one to go out, to go around an obstacle that should be tackled head on. An emotional discomfort when direct assault is essential. And in the second line, again, this is the line of the hermit. So this is about people are waiting for something. They're waiting to be called, particularly waiting to be called for natural talents. Again, lower trigram, people are really stuck in their own trip. It's really not a great day to have a big social event because people would rather stay home under the influence of the hermit energy. On the third, the sun then moves up into the third line, the martyr line of the 39 at 10:55 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The sun in the 39-3 is responsibility, the avoidance of confronting obstacles if failure puts others at risk, exalted, the greater benefit, whose first consideration is the larger framework, the energy to provoke through self-sacrifice, detrimented, the often disastrous assumption that others are more at risk if the obstacle is not confronted, the energy to provoke through failure to make sacrifices. And third line days are days to be careful on the roads. Be careful swinging doors, swinging elbows. This is the martyr, where we've got trial and error, bonds made and broken, the system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. So we may have bonds made and broken. It's certainly a day when there's a trial and error process and things bump into you. It's a good material day. It's a good day to do business and work on the material plane. But you've got to be careful because things can go wrong. But hopefully those things will lead to some form of discovery. And then on the 4th, the sun then moves up into the fourth line of the 39 at 10:32 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, where the sun is detrimented and described as temperance, careful evaluation and assessment before taking action. Detrimented, the faulty belief that willpower alone can overcome any obstacles regardless of circumstances. The energy to provoke that ignores circumstances. And fourth line days, again, we're moving out of the lower trigram with the inward perspective to the upper trigram outward perspective. Again, with the themes of friendship, companionship, networking, and things like that in the line of the opportunist. Also on the 4th, Mercury moves from the 45 to the 12 We've already described Mercury a little bit in the earlier part of the report. So let's what might be communicated. We know Mercury's about communication. What might be communicated when Mercury's in the 12? Well, the voice of the 12 is I try. It always kind of comes with a maybe. I'll try, but maybe I'm not going to be able to do it. This is the gate of caution, standstill, the quality of restraint, and the importance of mediation and inaction in confronting temptation. Mercury in the first line of the 12 is the monk, withdrawal that can only be maintained with communal support, exalted the beauty and harmony possible beyond the reach of temptation, the expression of social withdrawal and its value when supported by others. Detrimented, Simon the Stylite, total and often absurd withdrawal, the absurd expression of social caution and extreme withdrawal from emotional conflict. So no matter what the energies are that are conditioning you during the week, just remember this experience is about being a passenger who's riding in a vehicle that's driven by the magnetic monopole. Enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every day is a blessing, no matter what the dramas that beckon to distract us. We're all here giving the performance of a lifetime on this world stage. Just take some time to observe the play as well as act your part. Remember that you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be for July 5th of 2015. Should be available on the 4th, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. And you can check us out on Facebook, blog, or YouTube. There's New World Birth presences in all those places. And I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. And I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you've got any questions or you wish to schedule a reading. And if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA or connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. And if you want to make a donation, again, contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com or get a reading. It's a lot of great, dense information about you. And then I use astrology transits to talk about what are the experiences in your environment that are going on according to astrology. Supporting us at New World Birth either through a donation or a reading would be greatly appreciated. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey in this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. Anyway, really, I am so grateful and look forward to connecting with you again next week.